In this video, I'm gonna be comparing the Toy Story franchise to the Kingsmen franchise. Now, I've talked about these two franchises in two of my previous videos, but here's the reason why I'm comparing these two franchises specifically. I originally compared Toy Story to Kung Fu Panda, Toy Story 1 in that battle. And then I compared Night at the Museum to Kingsman. Kingsman won that contest. Now that I've talked about all the franchises I want to talk about, there's, of course, a lot of them. Now I'm going to go back through these franchises in order to pit the winners of the different battles against each other. Go through all the different matchups to see which franchise won this one and then which franchise won the other one, pit those two against each other. Today I'm doing Kingsman and Toy Story. Now, the first two Toy Story movies have a 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Kingsman: The Secret Service has the highest score of the three Kingsman movies of 75%. The Kingsman is the lowest score of 41%. What's impressive about Toy Story, if you think about it, is that sure, Lightyear has a lower score than the mainline Toy Story films, but it still is a 74%. That's still almost certified fresh. That's still not at all a bad score. So Lightyear didn't get negative reviews. They just weren't quite as strong as the mainline Toy Story films. The average for Toy Story is still 93, whereas the average for Kingsman is only 55. And the gap for Toy Story is only 26, whereas it's 34 in the case of Kingsman. So Toy Story beats Kingsman in all of these rounds, and for me, I'm definitely going to choose Toy Story. The reason for that is because while I think Lightyear is weaker than the mainline Toy Story films, I don't think it's that much weaker. I don't think Lightyear's a bad movie. I would describe it as a disappointing movie that wasn't as good as it should have been. It definitely has some flaws, as I've said on the movie. The Zurg twist at the end doesn't sit right with me at all. I don't need every one of my childhood heroes to be deconstructed, made out to be an old, miserable person. We see the worst version of themselves. That doesn't always need to be the case, where you show our hero, this person who previously was portrayed in a heroic way, as now being old and the worst version of themselves. Disney has done this repeatedly. Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, Indiana Jones, Buzz Lightyear. That pattern definitely bothers me. Also, I just don't buy at all the idea that Andy would watch this movie and say, I want to buy a Buzz Lightyear toy. You don't watch this more serious, somber, gloomy Lightyear movie that's not about Buzz as a space ranger and think, yeah, kid's gonna watch this and want to buy a Buzz Lightyear action figure. So the movie failed in terms of just the basic premise. Now, of course, there are good things about the movie for sure. There are things to enjoy about it. There's solid humor in the movie, primarily from Socks the cat. There's some good visuals to be sure, but also inherently, Lightyear feels a bit familiar, and part of that, to be fair, is baked into the Buzz Lightyear character. He's a space ranger, so inherently he's a bit familiar. You do definitely feel that with the movie Lightyear. When I look at the mainline Toy Story films, I think they're all pretty much equal. Sure, when I think about Toy Story 4, it does feel like Buzz Lightyear got dumbed down because now suddenly he cares a whole lot about what the voice is saying. That wasn't the case in the previous three films. So that's something I don't like as much. And yes, it's definitely true. The other toys, the ones that are not Woody, certainly do get sidelined. So, I mean, is Toy Story 4 quite as strong as the other three movies? I wouldn't personally say so, but to be clear, I don't think it's much weaker at all. I think it's still a great movie. It's just like, yeah, it's a tad bit weaker than the other three movies. I know that the ending has definitely divided people. I'm in the camp of people that actually like the ending of Toy Story 4. I like the way the movie's exploring this idea of growing up, changing, moving on, letting go. I think it's something a lot of people can resonate with. That as you go through different phases of life, as you age, your relationships with other people are going to change. That doesn't have to mean there's any ill will between you and the other person at all. It's just something that naturally happens. You look at Woody as the dad of this group of toys, it makes a lot of sense. It really hits hard emotionally. And considering the movie clearly establishes that Woody did not have the same relationship with Bonnie that he did with Andy, you understand why Woody made the choice that he did. And I've also always thought that Buzz saw, okay, Woody's about to go back with us, but that wouldn't be good for Woody. He wouldn't be truly happy if he came back with us. So I always thought what we see on screen is Buzz giving Woody his blessing to go with Bo Peep because he sees Woody is actually going to be happy with Bo. That's what's best for him. It's really powerful to see Woody and Buzz repeat that famous line to infinity and beyond one final time. The ending of Toy Story 3 is obviously very emotional. That scene showing Jesse's backstory in Toy Story 2 really hits hard. I have no issues with the first three Toy Story movies at all. When it comes to Kingsman, I think The Secret Service is a really good movie. It's entertaining. It's something different and distinct inside of the comic book genre because it feels much more like a spy movie with comic book elements put on top of that. There's good performances in here for sure, entertaining action. It stands out because it's a more adult comic book movie that is not intended for kids. I do think Golden Circle was a misstep. And frankly, when I compare Kingsman the Golden Circle and Lightyear, I think Golden Circle is just a bigger misstep than Lightyear was. It has more issues, I would say, because I think trying to show this relationship as a serious one, it was a really bad call because this is following up a very raunchy joke at the end of Kingsman the Secret Service. They go, ooh, no, the ending of Secret Service is not in any way, shape, or form a solid basis for an actual serious committed relationship. That doesn't work for me at all. I think bringing Harry back after he was so clearly killed off in the first movie was a mistake. Getting rid of the Kingsman organization so quickly with so little fanfare or ceremony was a mistake. There's still action that's entertaining, but I think it's definitely a step down. I like the movie Kingsman. I get why other people wouldn't like it. I get why it's not for everybody because it is somewhat based on real life events because it's set during World War One, but it's also an alternative version of history where Kingsman elements are in there as well as the more realistic aspects like World War One. I think there's still entertaining action though, and I really like the emotional core of the story, that being the relationship between a father and a son. When I compare the two franchises, I think Toy Story has been more consistent. It's managed to keep the quality up better, so I definitely prefer Toy Story. I'll wrap things up for this one.